Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and this is the Goth 3 Designs Grandmaster Graflex that I just finished up for Charles. This guy came out really nicely and was a lot of fun to build. It is a full masterpiece level modular chassis that obviously goes inside of a Graflex flash hilt and has all the bells and whistles you could really hope for in a Graflex. For the most part, we did this one in brass. I did some nickel electroplating on some of the parts up on the top end here in the emitter, and some silver plating on some of these other parts, just to give it some variation, some contrast. But overall, I would say the chassis is really a remarkable work of design on part of Goth 3 Designs. They did a terrific job. It goes together really well. It's really intuitive. It fits just perfectly inside of the actual Graflex hilt. And one thing I think that's nice about it and is different from other Graflex setups is that the blade holder is not a separate piece. There's chassis parts that you can order along with the rest of it that are the blade holder, and as you can see, you know, they fit in nicely with the overall theme and they work perfectly. Just when you receive them, they're just ready to go. You don't have to worry about, well, there's a little bit of a fitment issue that I'll show you guys later, but it's just because of shapeways. But overall, I mean, the whole thing is just really nicely done, and the blade holder gives you the option of using an external blade holder, like if you want to use a solo hole blade holder or one of the stock ones, or the Martin Bayer one, which is one of my favorites. You can do that. It will fit right on here. It's got the same 3 rod pattern, but you don't have to. You can just get the blade holder pieces that come with the chassis set, and you can use them, and it just takes care of everything. So that's what we did for the sake of continuity, just having everything all the same, and it really worked out nicely. I'll show you the other part of the blade holder. So obviously where this ends, there's still more which remains mounted up here in the hilt itself, and with this setup, these pieces are plastic instead of metal, and I was a little bit leery of that at first, but once I received them from Shapeways and installed them, I was more than happy with them. It's a 2-piece set which you attach together and then use a couple set screws to permanently attach, and then you mount the brass pins and the screw and the little window details and whatnot, and it works just the same way as other ones. The button for the main activation is right here, and it will slide up into this section, and this section right here just fits perfectly into the hilt with no extra work required, which is really nice. As far as the overall quality of the design, I'm a big fan. I've built pretty much every Graflex chassis that there is, and while I think the Martin Bayer Metal Master, the newest version of it, is probably my ultimate favorite, this one is just as good. It really is. It's so well thought out and well designed, and it fits into the Graflex Flash like butter. I mean, it really, everything just lines up exactly the way it should. There's almost nothing that needs any finagling or extra work in order to make it fit nicely. So that's my endorsement, and without further ado, show you guys how it works. To turn it on, I'll remove this cover down here. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but mainly because I have gloves on, it's a little bit hard to pull that off. Main power switch here. Got the OLED coming to life, and typically there's a boot up sound. I'm not sure what's going on. Another switch down here is your Bluetooth kill switch. Bluetooth connection light right here. It's flashing because it's not connected yet. Go ahead and turn that back off for now. And now we can use this button up here to turn it on, or we can use these buttons down here to work with. God, what is going on with this thing? This is not right. Huh. Let's see if we can diagnose it from the OLED panel here.
Primary crystal error.
Oh, no wonder. The kyber crystal is removed. No wonder it isn't working.
Primary crystal error.
So we're getting this error message on here on the OLED panel. And all sorts of... yeah, another service error down here. Well, it really acts up without the kyber crystal in it. But I guess that makes sense, because that is the source of power. So I guess we should probably... what's it doing? We should probably insert the kyber crystal. Hopefully that'll fix things. It's a nice 1.5" double pointed quartz crystal. Pogo pin connections, magnets on the back to hold it in place. Whoa! That's better. That's more like what you'd expect. Ah! And now it's working perfect. Look at that. So I guess the kyber crystal really does power the saber. Alright, anyways, enough fun with that. So that's the gimmick with this guy. Obviously, totally different behavior with and without the crystal. Let's reboot and show you guys fresh off the top. Get some interesting boot animations, pirated off the CFX default files, and as we toggle through, it will tell you the blade color. And when you fire it up, you get a nice animation, like a working animation for each blade. They're not all different. There are a few repeats, but lots of fun animations. Again, pirated from the CFX default files. Credit due to where it should go. Somebody definitely spent a lot of time creating these default files. A lot of fun. I really like the OLED panel now. It's something that's growing on me. It also gives you a nice battery meter to tell you how full your battery is. It's obviously full to the max right now. It's just a little thing, but it's nice. Let's fire up the Bluetooth. Just gonna search for and find Physicom. Boom. And we just go over here and select the Proffieboard. And now we click remote control. That gets us into the control settings area for the saber, and we can turn it on. We can play the audio track. Turn it off. Volume's at 2500. We can adjust that from here as much as we like. Bluetooth is great for demoing. Let's switch up to the next preset. Actually, let's jump a couple. This is the Jedi Fire Blade. So it's got a blue fire effect. Speaker, removable, lets you access the SD and USB cards down here. The SD and USB port, I mean. It is attached, anchored with 2 screws, so this is pretty much permanently attached, but it can be removed if you just take those screws off. Got pogo pins down here that mate with these pogo pins, and the whole thing is magnetized and stays in nicely, nice and firm, doesn't go anywhere. I also added a bigger speaker, which, as you guys probably know, I like to do with just about everything I can. It's a 31mm speaker, and all you have to do to make this fit a 31mm is to bore out the inside of this brass part. This is typically about 2.5mm thick all around, and I worked it down to about 0.5 millimeter to fit that larger speaker in there, but it's still nice and solid. You don't have to worry about it getting crushed or dented or anything like that. It's still got plenty of rigidity. Battery removal. Simply pop this cover off, pull the battery out, easy as that. Got a nice clean battery chamber here. Takes unprotected 18650 cells. It does not need to have a button top or anything like that. It's a flat top. It would work with the button top though. This is on magnetized, as is this cover, as is this little greeble shield plate. But they're all really solid. There's 6 magnets holding this guy on. This guy has 14, 10 here, 2 up here, 2 down here, and they are N52 strength, so they're really heavy duty magnets even for the size. So you don't have to worry about anything falling off. Nothing's coming loose. The top section slides right out. It's just on threaded rods, and it just sits in there with friction, but it is sufficient to keep it in place. As long as you're not swinging it around just loose, it's not going to come off. We've got heavy duty multi-amp ball-in pin connectors here, connecting everything up. The crystal, this is probably the only real complaint that I have. You got a cool crystal removal sound as well, and crystal in sound. Pogo pins on the crystal, as I said. Now my only real gripe about this design is when you put it in, you have to be careful because there's nothing to stop it from going past where it's supposed to be. There are magnets to hold it in place, and friction holds it in place, and the pogo pins mate with the opposite pogo connectors that are right here on this little armature thing. But ideally, I think it would have been best if the design had some sort of little additional metal element that kind of stuck in underneath here to catch maybe this little side section. So if this just came over and down here so that you couldn't push it past, because if this thing isn't in alignment, then the saber's not going to work right. And you know, if you're rugged and aggressive with this, I could see this, you know, maybe popping out. As you can see, it really needs to be aligned just right to work. Now it hasn't been a problem. You know, in any of my testing, it hasn't come loose or anything like that. But it would just be nice for the sake of ease of use if it was only went in one way, because you can put this in upside down and it won't work. You have to put it in the correct way. And it would be nice if you could just push it in all the way until it clicked and had it be done. But if you push it in all the way, it's going to go past. So that's my only beef with this design. Otherwise, fantastic. Love it. Up top, everything is brass as far as the chassis goes. I did some nickel plating on a lot of parts to give it some contrast. This section's nickel plated. This section. This is silver plated, also silver plated down here, also silver plated down here, just to give it some contrast. This is such a high-end chassis that you kind of have to get it done in brass, or else the cost of the chassis is going to be just astronomical. I think it was still around $2,000 for all the parts done in brass. So if you're going to do gold or rhodium, you're going to be doubling that price. It's going to get real expensive if you start doing rhodium or gold or, you know, silver or aluminum parts. So plating is key for keeping this in a manageable price point. And plating is great because it's easy to do and it's permanent. Like this nickel plating looks fantastic. It's nice and shiny. It's permanent, and it's, you know, it's still a brass part, so it saved a lot of money. It was a lot less expensive than doing this in a rhodium. Next up, let's see. This is fun. This little shield cover here is actually, it's just agreeable. It really is not for anything, but it covers up what's called the control panel. And this is something that I had a lot of fun with. This is a door that swings open, and you reveal what's called the control panel. What I wanted to do was, instead of having it be just a decorative element, you know, behind this really cool little brass door, since it's called a control panel, I figured I ought to make it a control panel. So what I did was I turned it into essentially a circuit breaker box for the lightsaber. There are 13 connectors that I mounted into the panel, and what they do in the current configuration is they work as bridge connectors to the plasma gate motor, this guy, the data line for the neopixel blade, for the power switch, for the auxiliary switch, and for the ground line for the blade. So if you remove any of these jumpers, it will turn off any of those elements. So if you want to turn off, for example, if you want to turn off the spinning motor, you can just pull this jumper right here out and the motor's off. If you want to turn off the blade, you can pull the ground or the data line, but the ground would be better. If you want to switch the button orientation, so the main button is the auxiliary, you can take the jumper out, flip it horizontal and put it back in. For these two, just do both horizontal, and that will switch the orientation of the buttons. And then if you're just working on the lightsaber or upgrading it or modifying it, adding a feature, something like that, you can use this control panel, you know, as a breaker box to tie into any of these lines if you want to add a feature, rather than having to tie into the actual Proffieboard itself, which is, you know, not permanently but semi-permanently mounted inside of this section down here, and you would have to take the whole thing apart to get to. So if you're testing, you want to get a multimeter reading or something like that, you can get access to a whole lot of the main functions of this lightsaber through the control box. So I thought that was kind of a cool little addition, a way to customize the saber and make it a little bit different, a little bit better than the general plan, to make this a actual working control panel. Let's show you guys the spinning plasma gate real quick. Now, as far as putting this guy into the hilt, okay, so let's set this thing up as a functioning lightsaber so you guys can see how everything works. So when you're opening it up and the chassis is already inside, ideally the best way to do it is to, depending on what you want, if you want to accomplish the chassis remaining inside, you want to remove it with the pommel facing up. If you want to remove it with the bottom half of the chassis remaining inside the bottom half of the hilt, like for example if you want to take this and connect it to your computer, reprogram it, face the pommel down. It's the easiest way to kind of orientate and get, you know, what you want out of the hilt. And if you want to show it off with everything remaining in, split it at above the Graflex clamp with the pommel facing up like this, because you will see crystal chamber if you take the Graflex clamp off. So let's install the blade and run through the blade presets and use Bluetooth to do it. Let's navigate this biznatch. It is a pretty tight fit. Press the blade in. That is, again, because of the nature of the plastic 3D printed parts in the blade holder section here. But it's not too tight. You want to slide it in, press it tight, leaving the glass eye at least partway inserted so you don't push the chassis out, and then just finish screwing the glass eye all the way in. Gonna pull up force sync. Select Proffi/TS, remote control, and booyah. Now this is a little bit of a shorty display blade. Charles wanted a 25 to 27 inch blade, so we did a 26. A nice happy medium. It's nice and bright. SK6812 pixels. Preset number 1, K-Sith's The Light V2 Smooth Swing Sound Font, one of my absolute favorites. Preset 2. I'm totally forgetting. Well, we can go back and check, can't we? Sound font on this guy is I guess we can't. Okay, so this is just the Graflex sound font, and I think it is an episode 5 Graflex sound font. And the blade is in a cool, very cool white, kind of like a sky blue. Third one is a even cooler white, like a steel blue. And this is the Light V1, also by K-Sith. And this is really, really close to the original 3 movies blade color, like A New Hope. This is really close to what the color looks like when you watch the original version. Next up, we've got the coolest blue. This is like the highest Kelvin, like 7,000 Kelvin, pretty much pure white with just a touch of blue. This is Rescue sound font, which is a Luke font sampled from The Mandalorian Season 2. Next up, we've got Unstable Blade, which is running the Bespin 2 sound font. This is an unstable blue-white audio flicker blade. Really good, long, aggressive drag tip. Slide it over so you can see in the reflection there. That's what the drag tip looks like in real life. Nice, animated, locally centered but moving blade lockup. This is the electricity blade with a delayed start sound font, which is a new font. It's called Endure, I think. Pretty sure it's Endure. Although I always shorten the name, so it might be Endurance, but I think it's Endure. This was a special request Charles wanted me to put on there for him. With a bright yellow and orange clash and lockup. Nice hot purple and green spark tip. A blue and white strobing blaster block. Nice long ignition and retraction sounds for this one. I'm not sure what character this is sampled from or where. I'm guessing it's a video game. Love that nice slow retraction. This is a white to blue turbine blade. And it is, I can never remember, it's the Butcher sound font. I love the power off sound effect. Just looks so good with the effect. Ready? Right here. Just matches so nicely. Green fire blade with Spitfire as the sound font. Purple audio flicker blade with Scavenger, which is a Ray sound font. Nice bright yellow-green animated traveling but centric blade lockup. we've got another Graflex, standard Graflex, A New Hope sound font for this guy. This is a audio flicker white yellow contrast blade. A little bit of light flickering Vader red blade with Swarm sound font. And then one or two more. Next up is a Fireblade with Crossguard by K-Sith. V like 19. Really massive localized lockup that takes up almost the whole blade, but does kind of widen and shrink, and it is centrally located. Nice bright white drag tip. Fast acting Bluetron blade. And then we back through it again. So that's about it for the presets. A few new little tweaks there, some new sound fonts there. But let's play with the chassis a bit more, because this really just deserves a bit more, a little bit of extra love. As you can see, the green status light is still lit for the Bluetooth. Can that just to save battery. You can just shut that right down. I'm going to reset the main toggle, main power switch. As you can see, got a standard Cylon effect going for the accent pixels down here, which looks pretty snazzy through the frosted windows here, and that ramps up to the actual blade color. We've got I think this is it's not three-phase electric motor, but it is three-stage. That's what it is, three-stage electric motor. The Goth manual recommends getting the 0-stage, or is it the 4-stage? So this is the 2, right? Goth recommends getting the 4-stage because that really slows it down. So if you go with the 4-stage electric motor, the maximum speed is going to be like that fast. I wanted to have the ability to kick the speed up a bit, as you can see. It doesn't have to be going full speed all the time. You can cut it down to about 30% speed and it still works nicely. Provided you install it, align it correctly, and maybe use a bearing if possible. But as long as you get everything nice and cleanly installed, you know, sand it down so it's nice and flat. Any surfaces that are going to be touching, you want to have them nice and perfectly flat, so there's no friction, and then you get a nice quiet spinning plasma gate. You will tend to get much better results. And then you guys can probably see I did a little bit of a custom job on this chassis part here because I just didn't really love the design of this little part. It has 4 arms that are good looking and, you know, rectangular. And then it had 4 additional, like, long, skinny rod things with loops on the end. And to me, it's just kind of a silly looking thing. It looks kind of like a dandelion or something. So I snipped off those long, skinny protrusions, and I mounted some flat brushed steel faced magnetizing induction alignment shields here, and that's why it looks different from the chassis parts you'll see on Shapeways. And that's just a simple modification. It's very similar to what I did on Mike's crystal chamber, although I used flathead screws to mount those ones. I wanted to go with a little bit cleaner look on this guy. And of course you can pull the top half off and still have a fully working, fully interactable chassis here. You've got your buttons, dedicated second set of buttons here. Nicely hidden and disguised inside of this decorative greeble panel. And then one of my other favorite things is get the crystal remove sound. Oh no, we pulled the crystal out, it's not gonna work. Let's put it back in. Proton pack fire up sound. Just to me that seemed like the best possible sound for you know, power reapplied. And of course, with the kyber crystal removed, well, what do you expect is going to happen when you try to turn it on? Nothing good. Just totally acting up with the kyber crystal removed. Motor's going haywire randomly. What the heck? The pixels are all short-circuiting. Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
Primary crystal error.
Thank you. Nice visual error messages for you.
Primary crystal error. Primary crystal error.
Service menu pops up, tells you you really need to get your saber squared away because it's not going to work right now.
Primary crystal error.
That's just not right. But you can't be surprised, you know. You take the power crystal out, obviously it's not going to work right. So let's put it back in. Boom! So there she is in all her glory. Charles, I hope you like it. I hope we can get it overnighted to you or second day mailed to you so you can take it with you to Disney and show it off. I know all your buddies are going to be jealous. I know I'm jealous. I wish I was keeping this. But maybe I'll build one of these for my own collection. Again, tip of the cap to Rick Ryo. Big kudos to him for this design. It's killer. It's gorgeous. All the elements are beautiful. And, I mean, the one glaring flaw isn't even glaring. There's this big plastic connector right here. And as long as you give it a reasonable finish, you don't even notice it. You know, you've got these plastic grate covers here, which you could just cut off if you wanted to. But you don't even notice them. I mean, the whole thing is so nicely designed and everything just fits and flows so seamlessly that it just looks gorgeous. Premium from top to bottom. And everything works. Fits like a charm. Just really a Lovely design from top to bottom. Alright guys, as always, thank you for watching. Charles, let me know as soon as you have a chance to view the video what you think. If you're happy with it, I'll get it packed up and shipped out to you ASAP so you can take it to Disney. And everybody else, stay tuned. We've got coming up next another sexy all metal brass and stainless steel, nickel plated brass and stainless steel all metal MK1. Obviously very early on in the build process, but this is going to be a nice one. And thank you guys.